Before we took 3 children, including 10-month-old twins, on a trip across the world to Malaysia, we had a plan. Welcome to the very glamorous testing station we've set up in our kitchen.
We have a number of things. We've got to think about how are we even getting on the plane. We're going to push a buggy up to the gate.
Yes.
We went through all the scenarios of different buggies. We just decided we were going to have a yotto. Not a yotto.
No, that's
a yo-yo. We might have to navigate ourselves through the airport.
She's looking good. She's looking great.
And then I'd have the rucksack.
There we go. Get your rucksack on. We tested everything. We researched. We packed meticulously. And then reality happened. They say fortune favours the bold, but I actually think fortune favours the parent who picks the right blow-up footrest for the airplane. So today I am reviewing everything that we bought, what actually saved us and what completely failed us, and what I would definitely never pack again if I valued my sanity. We may have some differing opinions, my wife and I. Because travelling as a family, especially a queer, disabled family of 5 like mine, is already an adventure. You don't need your luggage making it worse. First holiday with twin babies. We've never taken them anywhere abroad before, but the first place we're going to choose is a 13-hour flight. Yeah, brilliant. It would be a really random thing to do if the place we were going wasn't for a reason.
I would say the main reason was Rupert. Because I was like quite up for cancelling the trip. I was so anxious about the flight mainly, but then also like the unknowns of what it would be like when we're there and not having all of our like home comforts and routines for the girls and their cots. Anyone who's got babies knows that like every month is like different and you like have to master a new routine and a new sleep routine. So I was like, we've got it really good right now. The girls are sleeping through the night.
We've just sorted it out. We know exactly how to put them down. Yeah,
they're in their own room. So I was just like, do we really want to go to the other side of the world where there's an 8-hour time difference and it's really hot and they could potentially get ill? But the only thing that really kind of made me think, okay, like we definitely have to go. Rupert has been when he was 18 months and then he went the following year again at 2.5. And then he went, then he didn't go, but he was really sad that he didn't go, and we didn't go because I was pregnant with the twins. We were obviously quite a high-risk pregnancy.
He was okay with, because he was like, but we'll go the year after with the babies. So it's okay. And he has held that in his mind. So for 2 years it's been like, oh, but we will go.
Yeah, those 2 visits to Malaysia, which, you know, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm half Malaysian, I'm half Chinese, Malaysian, as in like Chinese heritage, but from Malaysia. And that's why we took Rupert out in the first place when he was 18 months, to meet all the family and, you know, stay connected to that part of his heritage, especially because my mum isn't with us anymore. She died like nearly 13 years ago now. It might even be more. 14 years ago. My gosh, I've lost count. So it's like really important for him to have that kind of, to see, you know, that side of his family, because he hasn't got those faces around him here.
And also just to experience Malaysian things that you don't get in England, kind of key parts of your childhood that you can share with him, whether that's things like chendol or the smell. The air smells different
and also
you feel it differently. We want him to have those memories and that connection.
Yeah, and also I think big part of my childhood memories are going to Malaysia and feeling quite proud of that, like, and coming back and telling my friends, like, I went to Malaysia, like, I'm half Malaysian, and knowing I'd been to this exotic place on the other side of the world that most people aren't lucky enough to go to and visit, and it's not just a holiday to France or to Devon, it's like Malaysia, like, it feels really special. Kind of, you live through your children, and like seeing things again through their eyes brings back the memories that you have, and it's just like a lovely sort of experience.
Yeah, I think, and we've said before, that the feelings that you have as well, where you're in a crowd in Malaysia versus where you're in a crowd in England and feeling like, oh, everyone's sort of the same and I just can't fit in, or feeling like slightly different. My only really like experience of, oh, I'm visibly really different is when I'm in Malaysia. Little kids will come and stare at me and my nose.
I mean, people stare at you anyway because of your eccentric.
Yeah, okay. But like your cousin's kids come up to me and they're like, wow, it's the biggest nose I've ever seen. Thank you.
One of my cousin's kids came up to you and said, you're the first white person I've ever met. And we were like, that is not true.
That's not true. But I want the kids to feel like, to have the experiences of being in groups and surroundings where they're like, oh yeah, no, these people, I can see my features in them, and I can see myself in them, and I can see why we do things this way at home because they do this here as well and in my family, and I'm like part of this.
Yeah.
And to feel like pride.
Yeah.
So that's why we took our 2 10-month-old babies.
Yes.
Across the world.
It's been over 2 years since we'd been with Rupert. He was starting to feel like a loss of that connection that had really shaped him, or has really shaped him as a person. He feels like a strong connection to his Malaysian Chinese heritage.
If you ask him what he is, he says he's Chinese.
Yeah, well, he says he's mixed Chinese.
Yeah.
But yeah, the girls were 10 months, so it is young. But we also like thought, you know, once they're over 2, you've got to pay for their seats.
Yeah.
They wriggle around more. We're like, well, we can put them in a buggy. They're old enough to sit in a high chair.
But
They're
not walking.
They're small enough to sit on our laps on the plane. Augusta sat on my lap, but we
Yeah.
bought an extra seat because Jessica can't have pressure on her lap for that amount of time because she has a thing called HNPP. The PP specifically stands for pressure palsies, meaning if something heavy but basically if too much pressure is put on parts of Jessica's body, that part of her body will have a palsy, which means like it becomes
Paralysis.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, really, I think they should have given us that seat for free.
Our expectation was that it would be awful on the plane. I think that was your main stressor.
Well, I just didn't know. You know, we'd never even flown with the girls. We got to Heathrow, and it was like one of the most like animated I've ever seen like Theodora, because she was just like, wow, and she was in like, we took travel buggies. They were like forward facing for some of it, and parent facing when we wanted to be. But when we put them forward facing, it was like the most amazing thing ever to Theodora. She was just like, wow.
You know, we didn't need to take her abroad. We could have just taken her to a train station or something.
Yeah.
So we thought they would be awful on the plane. But they slept so well because we planned ahead of time. So grab a tea and let's see what actually helped us survive a long haul flight with 3 tiny humans. What was a lifesaver and what was useless? 13-hour flights are generally where your packing choices will either shine or completely betray you. I'm not going to bury the good stuff. I'm not going to tell you lots of other things and then make you wait to the best product. No, I'm going to give it to you straight away so you know how good it is and then tell you some other good stuff as well. The number 1 best recommended product that I think is actually really good and we used with Rupert and we used this time and I tell all of my friends to get is a Flyaway Kids Bed. The thing I recommend to anyone travelling with a small child. It's a Flyaway bed.
This thing should go in the middle between you and Rupert.
Yes.
The ideal thing would be that both babies fall heavily asleep and then I can move one and they can both sleep on this and then you and I can just not have a baby on our lap.
We'll see. They do very much enjoy just being together, the girls, so at least we've got that going for us.
Yeah, this thing, it's quite expensive, but it's definitely been worth it, isn't it? If you do
Yeah.
long haul flights. Because it basically makes an economy seat into like a business class seat for your child.
For a child. As you will see in a moment, it has little edges. Oh, there's a hole in it.
This is why we're doing a test run.
Yeah. Okay, I'd just like to say this just to do really quickly. The great thing about this Flyaway bed, and another reason I love it, is that if you see underneath, it still leaves you space.
Yeah.
It's not taking up as much space
Yeah,
as
like this one. And it's like...
That one is very big. Whereas here, 2 sleeping babies.
Yeah.
That's how they sleep.
And then you move your
and then
underbag.
you still got a bag underneath them,
Yeah.
so you can just reach under, grab it. It's just this little blow-up bed that you can use on, you can actually use it on planes or trains, but obviously like, check that your airline allows it. It has to be in a window seat or a middle seat. It can't be in the aisle. You just blow it up with a little pump. I mean, our pump's slightly broken and we've put some tape around it and it still did amazingly. I blew it up with a sleeping baby on my lap. She wasn't bothered. It was fine. And then I just transferred her onto it.
It basically fills up not just the seat space, but obviously the footwell space. So it extends the seat, making it a bed. But when they're sitting as well, it's just so much like nicer for them because they're higher up. They're not on that weird angle. Airplane seats are obviously angled back, which isn't really suitable for kids. And they've got like a playing area.
It has little edges along the side, so then their toys don't fall off the edges. And the bit that goes down into the footwell is quite thin. It's not thick and taking up all of the space. You can still have bags in that space. It's so great. It's amazing. I love it.
You can't blow it up during takeoff and landing, so it's obviously once you're up in the air. So Jessica had Theodore on her lap during those times, and then once the seatbelt sign turned off, we blew it up, and then you just were able to like put her on it. You just feel assured, like even if she like fell over, which was unlikely, but if she was like a smaller baby and a bit not steady sitting up, she's just like still quite safe, because it's all just like basically like a big airbed.
Yeah, and you can strap her in while she's on it, because I put the adult strap on the actual bed itself, and then the child strap, the baby strap, the red one, goes through that. So then she's strapped into the bed, which is strapped in.
So when the air hostesses come along when the seatbelt sign goes on, they just sort of have a look and they can see that her belt's still on, so they don't say like, oh, you need to like
hold up your baby.
Yeah, they were fine about it. I think also they know for those long haul flights what a ball ache it is to try and get your baby back to sleep. Like, you know, you've really tried like everything.
And at the end, when we were about to land, it was really easy to pick her up, and then to deflate it, you just stick a finger in there, straight down. But if it isn't available in your area, there are some alternatives, and I will link them in the description below. It really worked for Rupert as well when he was a kind of an 18-month-old who wanted to like play with little things.
Yeah, I mean, before we got on the flight, Rupert was like, will I have my like airbed? And we had to explain to him that it was probably too small for him now.
Next one, the Maliton Inflatable Footrest.
This is just one, Maliton was just like the brand name of the one I found best reviewed on Amazon, but you can find like so many different types. Then we've got this one, which was like a good rated one from Amazon. Maliton, like what do you call them, like the footrest cushions that fit in the footwell. So I thought this would be good for lots of...
Does this one come with a pump?
No.
My God.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, look, I have a reduced lung capacity, so Claudia has to blow up everything. But Rupert's little blow up bed thing is the one that I researched and bought, because it comes with a pump. I have to pass these things across the aisle to you to fly them up, and then pass them back.
Well, this one comes with two heights.
Oh.
So you can just inflate this lower one, because I thought this would be quite useful. For instance, if you were just like, you can put your feet like this on it, and actually it's much easier having a baby sat on your lap when your knees are raised.
Or, because we bottle feed as well, I find it the perfect bottle feeding height is one leg up. So if you put one leg on it and one off, and then this is a kind of good backrest.
Or if you blow up the main part as well.
This is her exercise for the day.
I haven't quite thought out how I'm going to blow this up whilst I had a baby on my lap, but...
Well, my baby.
So that goes in there. It should be the same height as
the seats.
So either you can do it for comfort and it just makes your lap bigger for your child, or you can have your legs like slightly straddling it and have your baby sleeping kind of like there in front of you. Although it's not the biggest, but at least it gives them a bit more space.
Depends on the size of your baby.
Yeah. The Maliton one was literally like, you blow it up and it stays quite blown up, which had its downsides, because if the person in front puts their seat back, it kind of like squashed it and then made it pop up a bit, so then it wasn't level with the seat anymore.
Yes, and it popped out into the aisle.
And then the only way to deflate it is to like put your hand in this like quite large air hole, which then deflates it quite rapidly. But it did help. It does like a similar job to
the Flyaway bed. I had Rupert on one side of me, baby on the Flyaway bed on the other side, and Rupert just put his head in my lap and his feet on this footrest. It was good. Like if we hadn't had it, it would have been much harder for him to sleep.
Yeah, because his legs would have just hung down.
Yeah. The negatives of it though were that you have to use your breath to blow it up, and I can't.
I felt quite lightheaded.
Just there in the air, baby on her lap.
Oh yeah, I was like trying to blow it up. We were like sat next to me. We got out the Flyaway, we got out the Maliton, and then we got the next thing, which we haven't spoken about yet. I was just like blowing them all out. They were like, wow, how many blow up things?
People are really prepared.
Your parents have got everything.
Yeah. I think if your child is larger than the kind of 2.5-year-old, 4-year-old, if they're tall, maybe this would be better than the Flyaway bed, because it allows for more adaptability.
Yeah, because they can still actually sit in the seats and have the seat space and are not boosted up. I've got this for when we get off the plane.
Why only off the plane? Why not?
Because they might not give us our buggy back. We might have to navigate ourselves through the airport.
She's looking good. She's looking great.
When I went on the internet, Everyone recommends taking a baby carrier when you're traveling long haul on a flight. Take a baby carrier. You can carry them on and off the plane, and you can wear them on you, and they sleep on you, and you have them, and then you have your arms free. That's probably true if you normally carry your baby and your baby is used to being carried and they're smaller, like maybe or younger. We didn't use it. One, it's too hot. Our babies don't sleep on them.
No.
We don't carry
Our babies
them.
do not sleep on us.
No.
They get to a certain stage, they've fallen asleep, and then they're like, ugh, away from me, away. And so we have to put them down.
We bought 2 soft ones, like just canvas ones. Then we ourselves would be comfortable, like we'd have loads of buckles and things. But we just didn't use them in the end.
Yeah, although I would say I did think that we wouldn't use them because we don't use them necessarily.
They were almost like an insurance policy.
But they were helpful actually when we were doing things like going to a hawker store or going to an area where they're like, no strollers allowed.
The Ergo Baby 360, which is the strapped up one, I did put on when we got off because unfortunately, even though they were meant to bring our buggies straight to the aeroplane door when we got off at Malaysia, they didn't, and said that they would just be at luggage. And if anyone's been to KL International Airport, it is absolute like
mayhem.
It's like you have to get
full-on mayhem.
Train, the arrival and departures hall is the same communal
It's just
hall.
blended. You don't know what's happening.
It's really confusing, and you can get a little trolley and you can get a little buggy, but oh no, you can't take it beyond this point, and then you can get another little trolley and another little buggy. It was just really awkward. We just got off a 13-hour flight, tired babies and a 4-year-old. We were tired ourselves, and we didn't have our buggies, and we had all our bags. So that is when the baby carrier did come in handy.
Yeah, so we didn't end up using it how we planned, but it did become our go-to for other areas where we couldn't take the stroller. But I think the main tip is just to know your baby and know how they want to sleep and replicate that on a plane. Like Augusta wanted to sleep on her front on the way back. I had to end up doing this very weird like lie back position.
She was trying to get to sleep on me, and I just obviously am not comfortable enough as a person. So I handed her to you.
I have a lot.
Luckily by this point, Theodora was already asleep on her, like, you know, first class bed.
So at one point I was like, okay, right, I've got to, she's asleep, and then if she makes a stir, I've just got to pat her like, shh.
Yeah.
And this one, shh. Yeah. Rupert, don't you dare make a noise. Oh, I can feel it. Inflating. Okay. It's a cushion.
This is a cushion for your arm, so if a baby is falling asleep on you, because I thought, because you have the armrest.
Oh, you know, actually.
You have the armrest, so you don't want to get your arm sore on the armrest, so that's protecting your arm against a hard armrest. Then you've got a baby's heavy head on you. I thought that could
just
be quite
adding
helpful.
in, for those who don't know, I have a condition called hereditary neuropathy with liability to pressure palsies. That means if I put pressure on my nerves, they paralyse, which is not good.
I mean, this is why we bought you an extra seat. But if the baby just falls asleep for momentarily like that, then I think you should have this on your arm.
Yeah. Is it going to get bigger?
I don't know.
I could fit 3 of my arms in, maybe even 4. I mean, I think
I feel like Rupert could wear it.
This
like.
is larger than my thigh. Mel?
Oh no, that's not because you didn't use it. Excuse me, person who didn't have to have a baby on their lap for 13 hours. I didn't use it on the way out, but then on the way back I did, because I put it onto the plastic armrest of the seat. It did make it so much more comfortable. Augusta was sleeping on my arm like this most of the time, so I had my elbow resting on the arm cushion, which was then over the arm. It was an arm cushion for the armchair rather than for me, but that really helped.
Yeah, then you're not hurting your funny bone.
Yeah, it was so much better. And then also I didn't have to worry like if she shuffled and stuff that she wasn't gonna hit her shoulder or whatever on the hard bit and like wake her up.
Why are there so many hard bits in an airplane? The backpacks. These backpacks are actually amazing. They have some drawbacks in that
there's so many pockets you can't remember. You have to have a really good memory and a really good system of what you put in what pocket.
Where did I
Otherwise
put
you're just
the
like
thing? If someone else packed your bag, it's a real issue. She's like, it's in the front
I
one,
packed.
darling. The front? Which
yes,
one?
She's talking from experience here.
I am. She packed my bag for the flight back.
Jessica bought like a cream wipeable down one, and I bought like a black one because I wanted a black one. But the fabric was different. So my fabric was like like a canvas fabric. Yours was more like a wipeable polyester sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like her bag as an empty bag was considerably lighter than my one. So that was just something to note, that actually it's the same bag, same company, and it doesn't say about it, but the cream bag was lighter.
Probably any of the other pale ones. Any that look smooth like that, those are the ones really good. But the number of pockets, excellent. Like you can get so much into this backpack. It does then become a very solid rectangle.
And then there's this thing, Kooshy Kloud.
This was very expensive.
It was very expensive because I had to import it. It's from an Australian brand, I think.
She's watched the video.
You have to only put like 5 to 6 breaths in it, apparently.
It shouldn't be fully inflated.
Oh, might hurt if I do that. And then what you're meant to do with this is, you've got a baby on your lap, put this bit round you, and then you imagine the airplane's got the armrests here.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't overinflate it.
Okay.
So it kind of like tucks around. You have your baby on your lap.
We're really just throwing these poor babies down.
And I've even seen that because this bit's here, you can get the seatbelt up through the gap and still have them strapped in with the infant belt, so that you don't have to like move them and wake them up when there's turbulence and the seatbelt sign goes on.
Yes, this is a bit of an issue, is that they have to be on you for takeoff and landing using a special baby seatbelt. So they could be halfway through the flight, you finally got them to sleep. It's peaceful, it's blissful, and then, bing, now you have to wake them up.
Well, I think this will be quite good.
Rupert did not care for this. He preferred sleeping on my lap.
Yeah, he said he liked it. I think it did provide some comfort around his body for when he was just like watching, like, you know, sitting and using the chair, like to create a bit more of a snuggy sort of space. But in terms of sleeping, I think maybe he was still too small to actually like rest on it.
It didn't seem to be doing much.
But it worked well for me, so that on the way out, I used it on my lap to help me support Gus, and it was like really good because it spread her weight across the air and also acted as like an insulation barrier, so me and her weren't exchanging body heat so much because we were both getting really hot. If I needed to just like sort of shuffle because I was a bit uncomfortable, she wasn't disrupted by that so much because like the Kooshy Kloud kind of maintained it.
There was also a moment when you had to go to the loo, and then you were able to just pass her to me on the Kooshy Kloud, which was really great. But I don't think it needed to be this thing. I think there are other things that could have worked. This Kooshy Kloud, I had to pay a customs charge, and I'm really upset about it.
I would personally recommend the Kooshy Kloud, especially if you don't have the luxury of having an extra seat for your child, then the Kooshy Kloud I think is actually really good. It compacts down really tiny, it's really fast to blow up because it only needs like 5 or 6 breaths because it doesn't actually need to be fully inflated. It has a flat bit that you kind of put around so you can still use the buckle around your baby. I was able to kind of like rest my arms on top of it as well, around the edge, so I'm kind of still cradling my baby in my arms but with my arms resting. She didn't use it, so she can't give a full testament to it.
I used it very briefly.
But anyway, I thought it was great. I offered it up to Rupert on the way back because I thought, you know what, I can manage with Gus with like the cushions and the armrest cushion. But when I realised Rupert just wasn't actually using the Kooshy Kloud, I was like, give that back to me, I need it. And Augusta slept so much better once I put her on it. It's meant to be like...
I find it very intimidating.
Because Jessica's got a really absurdly long neck.
I do have an absurdly long neck, this is a true fact.
And it's meant to be better than just the traditional ones. So just like imagine you're going to sleep.
And my neck is actually too long for this.
What? Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then remember you've got the little bits on the seat, they like come in like this bit, and then you can like lean in.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It seemed good.
You did use it.
I did use it. I think if you have a ridiculously long neck, like me, it's good. It seemed great.
Yeah.
Slightly restricting, I think, in that sense.
What are you trying to do? You're just meant to be sitting and sleeping.
No, like when you're there with a really big neck cushion. But they're like, oh, the baby needs something. Oh no. So perhaps if you're just having a nice journey by yourself, then this is lovely. I think if you have a short neck, you don't need it. It's just a cheap bit of foam.
I slept better on this flight than I think I did the last time we flew out to Malaysia. It's whether I slept better or whether I was just more distracted, because I think my priority obviously was the babies and making sure they were sleeping comfortably. That I was like less bothered about how I was feeling. Like maybe I was less aware of like if I had what little niggles and discomforts I had. I kept my shoes on the entire flight because you cannot take your shoes off and on when you have a baby on your lap. I had like no leg room because I had like all the things I needed under my seat. I didn't like moan about it or be like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable, which I have done in the past, even on like much shorter flights.
I think we went on with the lowest of low expectations. We thought it was going to be horrendous. We thought none of these children would sleep, that we would not sleep at all, that it would just be a nightmare. It was not a nightmare, so therefore it was amazing. I mean, we were able to sleep a bit.
It was beyond a nightmare. It was like a dream. The airplane is actually called a Dreamliner. But they slept 10 hours straight on the way there and like 8 hours on the way back.
Yes, and also on the way back, one of our babies had projectile vomiting and diarrhea, and we just
took it in our stride. Yeah, we had prepared things. We had our change of clothes. Like Rupert got sick on the back of his hair. He was like, okay, never mind. My dad was sat in front of us, like, and he had no idea anyone was sick or anyone had even like had a change of clothes.
When I was just holding this vomiting baby, as she continued to vomit down me, and I was like, I better stay still and let it gather on my clothes.
I just looked over it.
Rather than allow it to spread.
The lights were off.
I was like, you just keep going.
I just looked over and Jessica, because I was sitting in a different row, and Jessica was just like, she's playing so hard. As her sleepy baby was just like,
right.
Yeah, and I just had a baby on my lap who was fast asleep.
Oh,
I was like,
can't do anything.
Sorry.
Make sure you take a lot
I think
of
it
extra
would be
clothing
hell
for yourself as well as the
Yes,
children.
I think it would
That
be
was
hell if
important.
you hadn't prepared. Like if you didn't take a change of clothes or 2 change of clothes. If you haven't got enough nappies, you haven't got enough spare clothes for them, and you haven't got a change of clothes for yourself, then yes, it could be quite an awful flight.
Oh yeah.
They played with plastic cups they give you with the drinks, like my water bottle.
We did have this one good toy which is just like sticks onto things. It has wooden rings and a silicone thing, and that's great because you can take it with you to restaurants as well as on a plane, and you can stick it anywhere, so you can stick it on sideways or on the tray table. That was good. But other than that, yeah, they don't need, like, everything is so new and exciting on a plane. One extra thing that was really good was the Snooze Shade, which obviously is sold as being like for use on a buggy, but really good on the plane because they do not turn out those lights.
I bought it for the buggies. We didn't use it as much on the buggies as I thought we would. It's so humid in Malaysia that like even though it has like air vents, it does get a bit warmer under there. So it was kind of almost too warm for them under it. But on the plane, we both used it successfully on the way out because it was an 8:50 flight. By the time you've actually taken off and got in the air, it's like 9-10 o'clock, and then they serve a meal. So basically they didn't turn the lights off until like 11:30, and the girls are exhausted by this point, and they wanted to go to sleep at like 9:30. So we just sat there with these like snooze shades over ourselves with our babies underneath. But on the way back, I tried to do the same thing, and Augusta didn't want me to have the snooze shade on.
Well, I think they've got so accustomed to it being really bright and sunny in Malaysia that they didn't need darkness to go to sleep anymore. On the way back, Theodora just slept fully like
with the light on
her back, light beaming into her face. If your baby definitely needs darkness to sleep, then get this.
Or if they're just very distracted by people around them, then that was also good.
Also, I think it's really useful if your stroller, your buggy, doesn't have a very big canopy.
Yes, then it was definitely good to keep the sun off.
And speaking of which, the stroller! We need to remember to say stroller, otherwise we confuse everyone.
In Malaysia, they use the word stroller for a pushchair, which we use the word buggy. And if we say buggy, they think they mean one of those like golf buggies.
They're like, you need me to get you a golf buggy? And we're like, no, just our buggy. No.
At the hotel resort, they drive people around in the buggies. And I was like, we're just going to walk with our buggies. We're going to walk with the buggy. And they're like, you want to go on the buggy?
You want to be behind the buggy.
You've got to use the word stroller.
Stroller. In terms of looking at what is the best buggy to take, what is the best thing, we needed something that would be really adaptable for using when you are one person pushing 2 buggies at the same time, but also that we could individually push. And why did we not take twin ones?
Well, we didn't want to take our twin buggy, which is the Bugaboo Donkey Duo, which is great, but it's heavy, it's big. We also didn't want to get it damaged, like it's an expensive buggy that we use every day at home. And also like when we do go out and about, like to restaurants and things like that, how often is there a wide enough space to push a double buggy?
So rarely. I find that things are a lot more compact. If you're eating like at the hawker stores, we would only take one buggy and took the other baby in a wrap, because even then we were like, I don't think we can get 2 buggies in there, that's not really going to be possible. But if we'd even go to a restaurant, it's still very much, could you fold up these strollers and put them to the side? With a twin, we wouldn't be able to get around anything.
And
or
like
pavements.
Yeah.
The pavements that just have a grate in the centre of them, or there's a tree.
There are some great twin strollers out there, but most of them are like the ones you use all the time, like our Donkey Duo. But there aren't many, if any, I could really find good twin travel buggies that suited our needs for our children at this point in time, because a lot of the ones that are lightweight and fold down quite small, they're only forward facing. The children have to sit up quite a lot or both be reclined at the same time. It was more like just like a let's have a quick push around, because your child's like 2.5 and they can generally walk, but it's just if they're getting a bit tired. But our babies are like, they are in the buggy all the time, 100%.
They cannot walk. So
we need something that's like the tyres are going to go over like bumpy pavements. We need them to have a good strong canopy. We need them to be able to recline easily, like with one handle rather than like the string thing. The footrest.
Mesh back.
Yeah, we needed the mesh back.
Yeah, so we went with the Cyvex Melio, and it's such a good buggy.
Yeah, it's got a mesh
back.
back.
So good. It's got a mesh back. Once you take out the newborn insert, the back is mesh.
Which makes it lightweight but also very breathable, which is great for like humid countries like Malaysia.
It has a UV canopy that's massive.
It's absolutely massive.
So big. You pull it down, it covers the entire child.
When your child's lying flat, the canopy still covers like most of their body.
Yeah.
And it has like little air vents. It's only like 5.6 kilos, the buggy. It feels really nice to push.
Folds up
we
easily.
could easily both like manage 2 buggies, even though we're just on our own. It did look a bit like, why are you pushing 2 buggies?
Yes, lots of people were like, why do you have 2? Like, what do you mean, why do we have 2? Your door to get in is only spaced for 1.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me this?
Also, what we really liked about the Cybex Melio is it's really quite unique in that you can forward face it or have it parent facing, which was really good for our babies who only ever up until that point before going to Malaysia had really travelled like parent facing.
And we'll only go to sleep parent facing.
Yeah, and it was really good because in the shopping malls and things like that in Malaysia, it's like a lot. It's like, you know, very busy, a lot of people.
Beautifully decorated.
Also people like kind of think, oh, your baby's so cute, and try and like come and touch them. So we would switch their chairs around to be parent facing so that they didn't feel so stimulated and also kind of protect them a bit more.
Yeah, but then when we're like moving as a group, going around, looking at things, out and about, we can put them front facing and they can be like, oh, there's my brother. Good, we're all still together. There's my sister in her buggy. Oh, good. The element of also having them be a bit more closed in was really nice. They do get a lot of attention, so it was nice to be able to be like, they're sleeping. I've put the canopy down. I know she's moving. Ignore her.
Occasionally when we went to restaurants or cafes that didn't provide baby chairs, we could basically just like park both of them up to the table in their strollers.
Yeah.
I think if you had a double stroller, you'd be much more limited with this.
Easier to put in the car.
It was easier to
2 of them.
Yeah.
In whatever configuration you need.
We actually had to split up in 2 cars because like we wouldn't have all fitted as a family of 5. So we split ourselves up. So you had 1 baby in a buggy and I had 1 baby in a buggy. So it was kind of good that we could have that option too.
Yes. See, all of these things, I hope we're really selling this to you and that you take this advice because it really was.
Oh, and just to prove that we are onto something here, when we were on holiday in Langkawi, we came across another family who also had twins, who were 18-month twins, and they had 2 individual buggies for their twins.
And we absolutely clocked each
we
other
were both like 2 buggies, and they're like, yeah, so much easier.
That's our biggest twin advice that we can give you right now, okay? Also fans, get yourself some good fans. We had 1 good fan and 1 terrible fan. I've put the good fan down in the description. I'm not going to tell you about the terrible fan, obviously, because it's terrible.
I mean, it's obvious, but like a fan that's USB charged as opposed to
one where you've got to try and desperately find batteries somewhere.
And a screw.
And a screwdriver! Let's talk food. We planned ahead. Our girls have a cow's milk protein allergy and they are on a special formula which we get on prescription from the doctor here in the UK. We get given 8 cans of it. It takes 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks for them to go through those 8 cans. How many cans did we take for our 3-week holiday? 8 cans. What were we thinking? I know, what were we thinking? I guess we did not factor in the fact that they would be drinking more because it's hot. That was foolish. They also, to start with, were eating less than they normally do at home. I think because it was just such a different time zone and they were like, what on earth is going on? Why are you trying to feed me in the middle of the night? Eventually, by the end of week 1, they started eating a lot more and a lot more food. But by that point, we had got through 4 cans. So we had to hunt down the specialist formula in Malaysia, and my wife's dear cousin managed to get this for us. He's amazing. Thank you, Cousin Ian. We appreciate you so much because I do not know what we would have done. So that was foolish. Other than that though, I had a great little bottle bag. I bought these Steri bottles where you can put water in and it stays sterile. Really good. We used them in the hospital. We sourced where we could get distilled water from and then boil it. We had a little like formula canister. Really good. Actually, that was really useful. We put the formula scooped into the bottles in the little bottle bag. Great. An insulation bottle with a thermometer on the top that tells you that the water's still boiling so you can still do your hot shot. Because the bottle bag has a little zip pouch on top. It had everything in. Squeezy pouches. Great. Snacks. Great. Reality of that was that on the plane they actually slept and didn't eat much of the food. But then in Malaysia they also didn't eat a single squeezy pouch that I packed. So much weight. Zero squeezy pouches were eaten. Oh, everything in the squeezy pouches came out of the squeezy pouch. It just hit the floor. And the one thing that I did not think we would use as much as we did, but I highly recommend, are the easy peasy bowls. They are so good. Everyone tells you that they make a baby bowl / plate that sticks to to the table, and they're lying to you. This one though, it does, because it's a mat and then there's a bowl on it, and we could take it to all different places. It worked in the nice restaurants, it worked when we went to family houses, or anywhere that had a tiny table. Slap the thing down, it stays, and then you just put food in it, and it's so easy to wipe and sanitize. That was a good thing. The fails. So this product betrayed me personally. I was so excited when I found out that disposable bibs were a thing. It's just the product for a trip where you can't guarantee sanitation at all times, and you're not necessarily going to be going back to a place where you can then wash the bib. You don't want to be carrying around like 10 dirty bibs. You just need something that protects their clothes for a bit, and then you rip it off and put it in the bin. Genius, I thought. Genius! No, one of my daughters soon learned to tear it off her own neck, and then she taught her sister how to. Would I bring that again? No, no. I say that with love for what could be a great product. Fail number one though, obviously, was not packing enough formula. Overpack. You can buy anything else you need when you're there, but you can't buy this. The hero products. The hero helpers of the trip were the buggies and the sleep pods. Our girls at home sleep in cots, side by side in their own room, and we did sleep with them in our room for a bit, but then we were just all keeping each other awake, and so at about 8 months they moved into their own room. However, during this trip they would be sleeping in the room with us wherever it was we were staying, in each separate part. And in one part it was all 5 of us in one room together, which we were slightly concerned would keep Rupert awake. It did not, but we thought about what on earth to get the girls to sleep on, because when Rupert was this age and we took him away on holiday about 10 months, we had a blow up mattress thing, but he didn't move as much as the girls move, and he also was one baby rather than 2 babies who like to be on top of each other and find it really soothing to fall asleep pulling each other's hair. So instead, Claudia found these really amazing sleep pods. They're zip up ones, they've got a little mattress underneath that you really easily inflate, and they also have a kind of foam swishy mattress which you can add on, which I did. Oh my goodness, and they dry so quickly. If any baby is sick on these, just a quick wash, hang it, it's dry in an hour. Brilliant. They were incredible. So good. The girls slept really well in them. The only thing I would say is that they have the loudest zip, but we did learn the technique of you just have to hold the entire zip in your hand and very slowly. The Italian sleep pods, very much recommend. They say they go up to the age of 2. I guess it depends on the size of your child and how much they like to move around. And they work brilliantly for us, but again, our twins are very tolerant of sleeping in their own spaces. They just need to be able to hear each other. So if your baby hates sleeping in a cot, this might be a completely different story. But they did genuinely make the trip possible, because it was a safe, easy space where the girls could go, and if they had one nap a day, the rest of the day was just so much easier. So beyond the packing lists and the baby logistics and the questions about how many muslins one family can realistically carry, you only need 2. They dry very quickly in the heat. There is another side to traveling like this, because we weren't just traveling as a family of 5, we were traveling as a visibly queer family with 3 very small children and a disabled parent, navigating long-haul travel to a more traditional country. And it does change things. Sometimes it's small things like the extra mental checklist running in the background at all times. Is this space safe? Is it accessible? Is it welcoming? Is this airport going to be straightforward to navigate? Will we have the support we need if something goes wrong? And sometimes it's bigger things. What do we say to this person at passport control when they ask, who's the mother? Luckily for us, at some points we had Claudia's dad with us, so he could possibly say, this is my daughter, these are my grandchildren, and point at no one in particular. There's something quite surreal, I think, about moving through the world and being both completely ordinary and yet feeling quite unusual, not wanting people to look at you. We're just doing nappies and snacks and trying to remember who's had a nap. Please don't ask how we are all related right now. I don't have the mental energy to assess you in this situation for the safety of the truth. Yet what really kind of stayed with me from this trip was how much of parenting is universal. It doesn't matter where you are. A baby needing feeding is a baby needing feeding. And from the disability side of things, I did absolutely have to put to one side the things that would have helped me more in favour of things the babies needed. I can't get wheelchair assistance around the airport because I'm not allowed to take a child with me without another adult, and they certainly wouldn't allow all 3 children. There's this added layer of pain that I have to manage, and there's a constant balancing act between wanting to experience everything and learning sometimes the hard way that accessibility isn't consistent everywhere. It's not always possible to move in a way that is the least painful, which is why having things like extra blow-up pillows might seem silly and might seem like a lot of stuff, but they're actually tools that make that balancing act easier. It's about capacity, right? And making sure that you have energy left at the end of the day to actually enjoy where you are. I'm going to talk more about the kind of queer family aspect in my next video, but for now I hope you found this video useful. This trip was so worth it and easier than expected. All of our forward planning really did play a part in that. If I had to pack again tomorrow, I would bring half as many bibs and probably twice the patience. And a lot more formula. If you're planning a trip with children, especially babies, then save this video because I promise you, future you will be grateful. I've listed down below everything just to make your life easier, so subscribe to the channel for more disabled, queer and loving content, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!